Legion, episode 3. Right, one thing I've kind of got to grips with at the moment with this season is, or this TV show, is that it's a slow burner. We're not talking about your atypical superhero TV show here. We're talking about something which is more psychological than action-packed. And, fair enough, we certainly get that from the first episode and the second episode. But with this episode, this essentially just carries on from where the second episode left off, episode 3. So with episode 3, we continue to delve into the mind of David. And we don't really learn a great deal about David in regards to what we learned from him in the second one. We know that he's got his own personal demons, of which are manifested in the form of the big, fat, ugly goblin kind of dude. You've also got the character from the book, the Angry Boy, which in this episode kind of shows more of a prominent figure in his dreams. There's also a moment where Sid and young David in the dream are escaping and the Angry Boy turns into the fat goblin dude. So, do they represent the same character or the same demon in David's mind? I'm not really sure. Now, what this made me think about is the fact that this is Legion, and Legion, we are many. So, are these separate entities? Are these actual beings that David has, absorbed into his mind, or is David a schizophrenic, and that's where his powers come from? So, it's an interesting way of how the writers will be taking the character of David from the comics, who essentially is several different people. Are they going to go in the way of the fact that he is a schizophrenic? And his powers were segmented from an early age, and because he didn't get the correct training or the correct recognition about his powers, maybe that's the reason why he is so chaotic. I don't know. It's an interesting way, because at the end of the day, this is an adaptation. So I'm looking forward to what road they go down. I really, really am. In regards to the events, Division 3 have got Amy, his sister, and in this episode they're torturing her, and David begins to sense this, and there is this great kind of trippy moment where he partially teleports him and Sid to where they're torturing Amy, and the guy with the milky eye can almost see them. They almost look like an astral projection at one point, but he can see them. So, at this point, when I first watched the episode, I was thinking, has he astral projected them, or is it a teleportation situation? We eventually learn that he thinks he has teleported, so why doesn't he just teleport himself there, get Amy, and teleport himself back? But that's where we begin to learn that Melanie, the leader of Summer, whatever it's called, Summer Houses, the happy place to be, she basically says, no, because if you do that, then, Division 3 will come in and they'll kill us all. During the torture scene of Amy, we do know that their intentions for David are to do with the fact, we want him. We want to indoctrinate him into our way of thinking, or kill him, because he's that powerful. The guy addresses him as being a god. But we do, at the end of the day, no one addresses someone as a god unless they want them on their side. You know what I mean? It's like the Dr. Manhattan complex, isn't it? He is a god and he is American. That label essentially says, if he's American, he's got to work for us. But we also understand that Melanie's intentions with David is also essentially that. We want to help him harness all his power, and then we want to use him. So at the end of the day, David's pretty much on his own here. And it's up to him to judge, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. What we do know is some quite nice moments from this episode is kind of more of an elaboration on his relationship with Sid. And, she's getting to the point now, Sid is, where, she turns around and says to him, do you love me? And that's interesting, because this relationship is completely and totally based around trust and respect for each other. And because they can't have any physical contact. It kind of makes you think, when they do, they've got to have sex at some point, surely. But when they do have sex, is it just going to be a case of them just like swapping bodies through the entire process? Or are we waiting for a point where David becomes so powerful that he actually stops her powers from working while they're in physical interactions? In the nicest possible way. But anyway, so we do know that I personally think that she loves him more than he loves her. I mean, excuse me. For example, there's a moment where she's inside his dreams and she sees him making out with, what's her face, you know, that lass who became one with the wall, you know, from the mental institution. We know that they've been together for quite a while, friends as it were, and they also had a physical relationship as well. And you can see the kind of shock horror on her face and how uncomfortable she felt during that moment. And it'd be interesting to see if she actually comes back to that in next week's episode and says, I saw you with her and that made me feel terrible. You know, so, yeah, it's nothing new really. It's almost like the Rogue complex really. You know, like the fact that Rogue could never touch anyone. She could never feel the touch of a man because of her powers. We are sort of going down that road with Sydney. And I can't really imagine anything else that they can give us that's going to expand on something we already know, i.e. the kind of the Rogue complex. So, yeah. Anyway, regarding this episode as a whole, it is a slow burner. We don't really learn anything else. We learn little nitbits about the history of it. We know that Dr. Carey, he is one of the originators of Summer Blocks or whatever it's called, with Melody's husband, who is now, I don't know, is he downloaded into the system? Or is it just his voice, which is still in the building? You know, I think it's in the elevator. His voice is there, I don't know. But that's kind of interesting. I mean, the one thing I actually enjoyed the most, and it's got nothing to do with the story, it's got nothing to do with the characters or anything like that, is in the happy room where they all sit and have a chat, like a conservatory. One of the windows is an X, like the X-Men, which I thought was pretty cool, and I kind of like that. But yeah, all in all, it was just an expansion of David's character, his internal torment, and how far he's got to go in order to be able to be let out into the field, essentially, and take on the bad guys. The crazy thing is that once his powers have been truly controlled, is that he's going to be unstoppable. So it's kind of the battle itself, which will eventually happen, is kind of pointless because of how powerful he really is. So, with that in hand, we do know that it's all going to be about David's psychological torment and his inner conflict. So the final battle isn't necessarily going to be him destroying the bad guys. It's going to be him destroying his own demons. And that's interesting. It's an interesting way of looking at it, and it's another reason why this as a superhero TV show should be continued to be watched, because it's not like anything we've ever really had to watch before in regards to a superhero TV show. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to next week once again. I've watched it twice this week, which I'm probably going to do every week, to be honest with you. I'll watch it the night that it's on, and then I'll probably record it the following morning. So yeah, more Legion, bring it on. It gives us an opportunity to dig inside our own minds. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Always a pleasure, never a chore. Please click subscribe if you want to see more, and peace out, and I'll see you next time.